So, now we turn our attentions to something a little bit more important. No disrespect to the Pre-C and the Pre-B finals. This is where we start to talk about championship contenders here, Reeve. There will be a little bit of a warm-up for these drivers. Well, a short one just as they come round. Let's take you through the grid for this one if we can. 130 points available for this one. Ellis Cox is on pole position. Championship leader Matteo Ehrenfeuchter alongside on the front row. Bertie Hodgson on the inside of row 2. Miles Harrison, the other championship contender, is on grid 4. Thomas Welsford and Henry Greenwood form up row 3. Finlay Strang and Zane Perry row 4. Oliver Yango and Mason Turner row 5. Rest of the field, Edger and East on the 6th row of the grid. Guest and Hazelwood row 7. Chapregi and Cunningham row 8. Nichols, Limmer Evans and Griffin through to the 20 runners in this one. Lights are green, 11 laps underway. First big race of the day in this championship battle as round goes Ehrenfeuchter. Championship leader round at turn 1. What happened there for Matteo Ehrenfeuchter? That was a very, very quick moment. Where is Miles Harrison in all of this as well? Penalty for Miles Harrison. ABC takeout. I just wonder, well, I wonder if we could get a replay there. Have we had a bit of championship drama immediately in this race? Now, to be clear, let's have a look at it again. This is into turn 1. Keep an eye on the cart number 22 on the number 6. Round goes the... now, was there a move on the inside? Will Miles Harrison argue that a little bit, that there may have been something on the inside? Either way, both of them now, unless something dramatically changes in this race, Reeve, this is going to be drop score territory for both of them. This is why we count the top, well, I like to count the top 14 scores and not disregard any scores until they are fully dropped, because weaker scores that the drivers would have been hoping to drop with good results here today, they come back into play. In a way, this is good for Ehrenfeuchter, because if both of them have drops, the 4-point lead that Ehrenfeuchter had at the start of this race remains 4 points.
This is not exactly what you want, though, when you're trying to head into a race weekend. No. And just think about a nice cruise home to your championship charge. To have a very unfortunate race start with your championship rival as well, heading into that first corner. This is dramatic stuff here at Buckmore Park, though. In the lead of this race is Ellis Cox. Got a bit of pressure from Thomas Welsford and Bertie Hodgson, both putting in a mighty effort in practice and qualifying from what we saw earlier on. As we see Ellis Cox there, who pretty much led that qualifying session actually with a pretty dominant showing, is doing his best to do that in this race. We should also be clear, we only have one camera angle here in the box. Yes. There's a good number of observers down there through the first part of the course who would be able to see better on the inside who was the cause of the incident there for Matteo Ehrenfeuchter on the first lap. 8.5 minutes to go. Let's talk about Ellis Cox. What a run that Ellis Cox is having here. Isn't a championship contender. Hasn't been to all the rounds, but when he has been here, he's been quick as ever. As we saw last year, had a really unfortunate end to his 2023 season here at Buckmore Park and missed out on some championship placings. How special would it be for Ellis Cox to come back here and take a race win? He'd love to get a double of pre and trophy A final, but the first job is win the pre A final and all of that. There is Miles Harrison. Miles Harrison out wide. Remember, Miles Harrison needs to finish at least 8th to further increase his championship tally. That's at the moment not happening. Harrison is down in 9th and penalty, and has the penalties to be applied as well. I think we would have been seeing quite an interesting battle between those two drivers, though. Miles Harrison with a very fast lap last time around, and then Matteo Ehrenfeuchter also with the fastest lap. Eliza Hazelwood now taking that accolade, as we do actually have another penalty coming in for Miles Harrison. A second advantage by contact ABC penalty. It will come up on your screens in just a moment, I imagine, ladies and gentlemen, but that is disaster for Miles in this race, isn't it? It is. That's definite now, that irrespective of where Miles Harrison finishes on the road in this race, this is going to be a drop.
There is another impact, though, here, Reeve. This result from this race sets the grid for the Trophy A final. It is quite possible that both of our championship contenders are going to be starting this one from pretty much the back of the field, and it's going to be difficult for them to race through and get a counting score in that race as well. Meanwhile, back at the front of the field, Ellis Cox leads from Thomas Welsford. What a race Thomas Welsford is having here as well in the 1:04. Was brilliant in qualifying earlier today. Strongest result so far this year for Thomas Welsford was back at Ella Park, round number 5 of the championship, second and third. I think there's yellow flags out through the S's for a little bit of barrier replacement there. Ellis Cox has backed the field up big time here. That could be actually a bit of good news, you know, for Aaron Feuchter. Aaron Feuchter's back up to P14. Again, it's not a counting score at the moment, but it's an improvement on where Aaron Feuchter would start the Trophy A final from. 6 minutes to go. This is what can happen in a season finale. This is not how I thought this race would go here, Reeve. Ellis Cox leads at the end of lap 6.
Yeah, what this backing up has also done, it's brought Elijah Hazelwood right into contention as well. He's been on great form for the past few laps and is now attached to the rear axle of the cart up in front of him. Ellis Cox is begging Thomas Welsford, let's work together, but Thomas just wants to go for that race win. As we go side by side now, Ellis Cox and Elijah Hazelwood briefly looking like it was going to be a change in position there. Elijah has to back out of it, and now we got Thomas once again in second and trying to put a charge on for the lead of this race.
My goodness me, that was one that Elijah Hazelwood sent from Rochester Airport. As Hazelwood now runs wide, down the inside, there's Zane Perry, who has a go at Bertie Hodgson for P4. It's all breaking down a little bit here as it's nearly 5 wide coming up through to Cafe.
As we see Ethan Guest just running a little bit wide there as well, but Elijah Hazelwood got caught up by Zane Perry, was in his own battle. The back end goes out in his car, he scrubs a bit of pace off, and then Elijah has to back down and slow down in order to avoid any major contact there. So a disastrous end of the lap for Elijah Hazelwood, though, as we do continue on. In the grand scheme of things, of course, it's not actually that much time has been lost. There's still only 2 seconds between P1 and P5.
The DDMM spreadsheet of doom, we should say, is coming into play. I just had a thought in my mind, which I'm going to reverse. I'll come back to that one.
Okay. As we do have a penalty coming in for Bertie Hodgson, running in P4 at the start of this lap. Bump and pass, advantage by contact, ABC penalty there. That's not ideal. We're starting to see drivers really pushing on as much as they can. A bit of despair between the drivers there, actually, as we see Bertie Hodgson disagreeing with Elijah Hazelwood out on track potentially.
I was about to say that the championship would be decided by this race. The championship will not be decided by this race. Even if Miles Harrison is classified last in this A final, he would still have a route to exceeding the championship score that Matteo Aaron Feuchter is currently on, mainly because Matteo Aaron Feuchter is also dropping, having a drop score out there as well. 3 minutes and 40 seconds to go. Still Ellis Cox and Thomas Welsford at the front of this field. Zane Perry has had third places so far this year, had one in a pre-final, both at Glannygores and Wilton Mill. Would be his 5th of the year. There is Miles Harrison trying to race through, 9th on the road, still with a bag of penalties to be awarded. Look at this right in the middle of hairpin number 1.
Carries on through to that second hairpin, but we go about 5 cars wide, in fact, as we enter that second hairpin. Penalty coming in for Zane Perry, track limits violation, running in P3 here at the moment. I think what we're seeing is a lot of karters really pushing on the exit of Garda, actually, but as we mentioned, running off that racing line, you lose a lot of performance, a lot of grip in the kart, and you've just basically you run at risk of having contact with another kart or potentially even or coming foul of track limit here, like we might have seen. We go back on to the start-finish straight. A new fastest lap for Elijah Hazelwood, though, as we are seeing our race leaders now. This is Ellis Cox ahead of, that is the number 16 car of Zane Perry, who goes down the inside into the first hairpin. A great move there. Saw an opportunity and absolutely jumped on it. Elijah Hazelwood then into second position. He looked to be dropping back just a few laps ago, but has quickly recovered from that.
This is a pre-A final that just keeps on giving. What a move from Zane Perry. Forget third places, this could be his strongest result of the year for the driver in kart number 16. Elijah Hazelwood, to be clear, is not a factor in the championship. Hazelwood can draw level on points with Aaron Feuchter, but Aaron Feuchter's number of race wins so far this year cannot be exceeded by Elijah Hazelwood.
Same
and as I say, to equal those results, Hazelwood need to win both the pre and the Trophy A races. That's not out the question, though.
It's certainly not.
Down the inside goes Hazelwood for the race lead on Zane Perry. Zane Perry's going to be out wide there, out of hairpin number 2.
Great defence from Zane Perry, of course. Zane does have a track limits penalty that he is carrying at the moment. So while on the road he might be leading, it is on paper Elijah Hazelwood who currently leads this race. So he's doing everything he needs to. Another penalty coming in potentially for Zane Perry as well. Track limits advantage this time round.
I did wonder there. Zane Perry ran out wide beyond track limits out of hairpin number 2. And I think has been adjudged to have held on to the position ahead of Hazelwood. As a result of that, Hazelwood steps down the inside again for the move, for the lead on the road. Has got it done. Zane Perry down to P2. Welsford is down the inside of Cox for third place on the road. Henry Greenwood has now set the fastest lap of the race. You've also got a really intriguing situation further down the road here, Reeve. Harrison and Aaron Feuchter, your 2 championship contenders. Harrison is effectively keeping himself in play in terms of the championship by being the Gandalf, by holding Aaron Feuchter there in 9th. Yes, Aaron Feuchter will get 8th place back once penalties are applied, but 8th place is a drop. This racing between Harrison and Aaron Feuchter means Aaron Feuchter can't improve his championship score here. It's still going to be a drop. The title will still be alive going towards the Trophy A final. This has been a remarkable pre-A final for the cadet lightweights. We're on to the last lap. Can Elijah Hazelwood hold on for a third A-tier race victory of the year?
Let's see, it's Thomas Welsford in P3 at the moment. Well, that battle, as you say, between Miles Harrison and Matteo Aaron Feuchter is looking a little bit better for Miles now as he jumps up into P7, has a bit of an air gap between him and his championship rival, so it could be looking good here as we head now through Garda for one last time in this race. Elijah Hazelwood fought very hard for it, in fact, now leading this race ahead of Zane Perry. Penalties being carried by Zane, but it's going to be Elijah who crosses the line first to take race victory. Jubilant in victory as well. Zane Perry comes home P2 on the road, Thomas Welsford P3, Charlie Kspreggy and then Ellis Cox are top 5. Oliver Yangwao and then Miles Harrison, Bertie Hodgson, Matteo Aaron Feuchter and Henry Greenwood are provisional top 10 in this race.
Wow, what a pre-A final. Elijah Hazelwood takes his first A-tier victory since the pre-final at Wilton Mill. That is a big result in terms of championship. We will update you on it in due course. Next out on track though